a question at you, which is probably uncomfortable, right? Tell me about your organization's founder.
Satoshi. I was actually going to ask you about this individual.
Well, I'm asking you because it's you. He's your. Take me to your leader. Right?
I mean, I think that is part of the secret ingredient of crypto is no one really knows. I mean, there's lots of speculation on who that individual might be. There's even some sort of what I might call in kind of the conspiracy theory camp. There's speculation that this individual might be a representative of a three-letter agency as well. I don't happen to believe that that's true. I believe that this was one or a small group of individuals working together to achieve some common purpose. But this individual chose to remain pseudonymous. And that is part of the strength and power of this entire, movement, as David called it earlier, is that it is leaderless and it is opt-in. And also, I think something that is distinct maybe from the other non-state actors that intelligence agencies are looking at, it is completely nonviolent. It is an opt-in movement where you decide to run a particular node or purchase a particular coin and hold that coin. There is no physical manifestation of it. And certainly there is no coercion or a notion of violence. So in some ways, it is similar to a non-state actor, as you've described it, Annie, in that it's pseudonymous.
And I'm only, remember, caveat here is I'm just telling you how, if I were in the intelligence community, I would approach it. I'm not telling you my approach to it.
Certainly understand that. But this is part of it, is we want to get in the head of the intelligence agency, because we have no idea how they look at that. But does that description? I'm going to put in right now, because they either absolutely know who your leader is, or they don't. And if they don't, then the organization is considered a non-state actor to them. And if they do, then they have a lot more power than you think, and that would be that creates a vulnerability within the organization that should be considered. Well, what are the chances that the intelligence agencies of the world don't know who Satoshi is? I mean, this is all conjecture. So I'd be very interested in your thoughts, Annie, but I'd also be interested in your thoughts, David. Like, what do you guys think about this?
Well, it's an either or, as far as I'm concerned, because there's no way of knowing. They either do or they don't. But if they do, as I said, those two lines of thought, then the way in which the intelligence community perceives the organization is entirely different. Well, as far as the peaceful movement, I would also say that the intelligence community would say this. Any organization that alleges utopian ideals, right, is of incredible interest to both the military and the intelligence community, because nothing
incompatible crypto and our securities laws. Our securities laws were brought about to protect the investing public against fraud and schemes and manipulation. And it was through this idea of full, fair, and truthful disclosure, registering with the SEC when you're raising money from the public and the public's anticipating a profit. It's pretty straightforward, actually, common sense approach to helping the public in investing. So this broad field, we have one goal at the SEC, is for them to come into compliance, whether it's the tokens, that's basically people raising money or offering these tokens. And it's also what I'll call the storefronts, but they can call themselves crypto exchanges or lending or staking as a service or other intermediaries, to come into compliance and ensure that they don't mislead the public, but also that they don't commingle the funds, they don't take the public's funds and do things we just don't allow in our financial markets. We don't allow the New York Stock Exchange to also play with the customer's funds and make markets, run a hedge fund, run a dealer, be in the clearing business. We separate out those conflicts.
Mr. Gensler, thank you for your time. You've set out the goal there. And what I want to ask you about is the results of your actions. You have asked a number of names in the crypto industry to register their products with the SEC. Very few have, in particular those that are most known to us, the bigger names in the industry. Why are they not acting on your requests?
Well, the law is the law, and they need to come in and properly follow the laws, and we will work with them to do that. But in the meantime, we will also look out for the investing public. And we've been very clear, for instance, about what's called crypto lending and what the requirements are there, about staking as a service. We've also been rather clear about custodying customer funds. And we will continue to do this. And of course, we would most suggest that they come into compliance.
SEC bringing the case against Ripple was not really just a case about Ripple or about XRP. It's really about the industry and how the SEC is kind of playing offense and attacking the whole industry. 2.5 years ago when this started, I'm not sure everyone fully digested that, and now that is widely understood. This is going to be pivotal for the whole industry, because if the SEC is able to prevail, I think there's a lot of other cases, and some of them just in the last 4 weeks, I think they brought 5 additional enforcement cases. The macro headline for me is this is not a healthy way to regulate an industry. Your regulation through enforcement, as opposed to where we're seeing in other countries where they're doing the work, right? They're codifying, they're creating a framework that allows an industry to grow while protecting consumers. And I think that's really what the U.S. is lagging. And to some degree why I'm here in Washington is to continue to try to evangelize and educate. Here's how these technologies can really benefit consumers, benefit industry.
Is what I'm hearing from you essentially, if the U.S. doesn't get its act together and move more quickly, all of this is going offshore. It's just going elsewhere.
Well, it already is. I mean, the sad reality is that the U.S. really is already behind. This is not behind countries that we haven't necessarily heard of. This is behind Australia and behind the UK, Japan, Singapore, Switzerland. There's a lot of countries that have taken the time and thoughtfulness to create that clear rules of the road. By contrast, when I first got involved in the tech industry in the late 90s, some were saying the internet should be banned. They were saying, like, here's how the internet is being used for illicit purposes. But the U.S. government said, no, we're going to create a framework. And that allowed entrepreneurs, that allowed investors to come in and look at the benefits to the United States on a geopolitical basis to have the Amazons and Googles based and headquartered in the United States. We're at, I think, severe risk of having that not happen in this next evolution of technology around blockchain and crypto. It has already started moving outside the United States. And also the consumers are suffering because of that, because you don't have the same protections that the U.S. regulatory frameworks can provide.
What would a good framework look like in your view?
Well, look, I think what you're seeing right now is the Securities and Exchange Commission. If you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And not everything here is a nail. And I think any framework has to start with clear protections for consumers, but then to thoughtfully understand that these aren't always going to be securities. Some of them are used as currencies. That is, having an efficient process to trade, exchange, move those things would be